Hello, happy Tuesday, and welcome to the Sabrena and Ben Real Estate Hour here on 1240 AM Hot News Talk Radio and 101.1 FM. We've got a packed show today. We're going to get right into it here in just a few minutes. But I want to start off by saying, I say this week after week, and nothing has changed. The real estate market is booming. I cannot stress that enough. For any of you out there thinking about putting your home on the market, now is the time. We need more homes on the market. There's a housing shortage. So what that means for sellers is your house is probably going to sell relatively quick and you're going to get a good price. So as long as you price your home, your listing price is within market, it should sell quickly and you should not have to negotiate that much. I cannot stress it enough. Anybody out there thinking about selling your home, you need to call Sabrena Realty at 423-499-7780. That's 499-7780. Or go to our website, SabrenaRealty.com. There's all kinds of information there about our company. We offer competitive commission rates. We don't have any administrative calls. We do a free consultation. So there should be nothing to stop you from calling today. And if you're thinking about buying a home, the rates are still low. They're still low. They're historically low. So you need to, if you don't know whether or not you can buy a home or you don't know how much you can spend, then you need to call the fine folks at Home Rate Mortgage, Ben Phillips and his team at 423-805-9100. They can pre-qualify you over the phone. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, what have you got to lose? This is your year to either buy or sell a home. So for those of you thinking about selling your home, today's show is going to be very informative. We're going to give you lots of valuable information that you can use in getting your home ready to put on the market. Our first guest today is David Bartow. David, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you here today.
Hey, Sabrena, thank you for having me.
And David is a landscaper. So what David's going to do today, he's going to help us get the exterior of your home ready to go on the market. We're going to talk about landscaping. We're going to talk about curb appeal and things we can do. And for anybody out there listening, if you have a question, the phone lines are open. You can call us at 800-8949. That's 800-8949, and we'll be glad to answer any of your questions. All right, David, for people thinking about selling their home, you know, the first impression is everything. When you pull up in that driveway, and you get out and you look at that home, first impression is everything, and first impression is lasting. You know, when people pull up, they know immediately if they want to go inside that home.
Exactly.
So
you need to make sure it's neat, it's clean, it's mulched, the bushes are trimmed.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of people have trees in their front yard. They need to, I call it uplimbing, where you go in. If you can't see the house,
right,
why are you showing the house? So you need to uplimb your trees and get it to where people can see the home.
Yeah, that's really, really, really good advice. How long have you been doing landscaping, David? I mean, I know you're a pro at this. You're no stranger.
I've been doing it since I was 12 years old. So I'm 42. So 30 years. And, you know, I've transitioned from having a landscape business to now I just work for 3 individuals,
yeah,
and keep their places up for them. But in my old business, you know, we would have customers that would want to sell their houses, and we'd be looking at places, and it's just people don't want to clean up your old problems.
Yeah, exactly.
When they're coming in to buy your house.
Exactly. Well, we're going to have to talk to amateurs today because I don't have a green thumb. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and then you feel free to add any advice or add anything, because I know just enough about landscaping to be dangerous. I'm one of these. Don't give me a plant because the poor thing will be dead in 2 to 3 years. So with that being said, I like very low maintenance. When I'm, you know, planting or doing something like that, I want something personally because I'm busy. And for the busy individual out there, or those that are on a budget, I don't want to spend a lot of money. And I want something that I'm not going to have to baby a lot. Maybe it's drought tolerant and it stays green year round. So what kind of plant am I looking at?
shrub that's not going to get real big, maybe about 4 foot maximum, about 4 foot wide, you really can't beat dwarf Burford hollies. Now, the regular Burford hollies will get 20 feet tall and 20 feet across.
Wow.
But the dwarf Burfords, you can let them grow for years, and they really won't get much bigger than about 4 feet all the way around.
Okay. And does that particular plant stay year round?
Yes. I mean, it's holly, so year round. They're drought tolerant. The joke is on hollies, about the only way to kill them is to just dump the entire bottle of Roundup on them or something. They're almost impossible
That
to
sounds
kill.
like my kind of plant.
Yeah.
And are those affordable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, almost. The Barn Nursery always carries them. And, you never can beat the Barn Nursery or Ooltewah Nursery.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those nurseries, if you take pictures on your phone, take them down to the nursery, they've got people on staff that'll help design the yard out for you.
Okay. Yeah. That was one of my questions. Design's important, isn't it?
Right. It is.
For example, let's say that we're dealing with a house and it's got a couple windows on the front. What do you do around a window or some feature like that you don't want to hide? Or
well, a lot of times you want to frame them.
Okay.
So you use like an American arborvitae, something that's going to get about 2 feet wide, but get 10, 12 feet tall. Or you want to hide, when you're looking at a house, you want to look at the gutters and look at the corners. Sometimes you want to hide the gutters.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do it without spending a lot of money.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Color is another thing.
Yeah.
Women like color.
Yeah.
When they pull up into a house, spend the money on the pansies. Spend, if you're selling in the winter or the fall, or if you're putting the house on the market in the summer, spend the money on the impatiens and the begonias and things like that, because people like color.
Okay. Now, we were talking about mulch, how important it is to have fresh mulch. What is the best mulch to use?
Use shredded pine mulch. I can't stress that enough. Almost all of your bushes out there, except for maybe some hydrangeas, need acidic soil.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The other thing is that a lot of these colored mulches, all that is scrap lumber that has been dyed.
Yeah.
And if you want to just put a great big carpet mat out for termites and fire ants and other things, use that kind of mulch.
Yeah.
Whereas the shredded pine mulch, it's actually the bark of the pine tree. The ants don't like it. The termites don't like it. You're not inviting bugs into your flower beds, which are right next to your house.
Okay. Well, I'm doing something right, because that's what I use, because it's affordable, one thing, and it looks good for a long time.
Yeah, it stays a nice rich brown, and it also doesn't compact up like hardwood mulch does. Hardwood mulch settles, and then try spraying water at it. The water will just run right off the surface of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're losing your humidity in the soil, because a lot of water will just run back into your yard off the mulch.
There's really an art to this, because you were talking pH and you're talking about water and all that stuff. So, and it's very important that you consider all those things. And I guess you had mentioned the Barn Nursery, the Ooltewah Nursery. Are there any other resources for people out there that don't know a lot about landscaping and stuff?
You can do a lot online, but you never really can underestimate the amount of knowledge they have at these nurseries.
Exactly.
And that's, I'm not a paid advertisement for the barn or Ooltewah, but they're both run by really good people. The Whitener family that owns Ooltewah Nursery, and then the Webster family that owns the barn. They're just good people. They have good stock. They warranty their products.
That's important.
And they'll show you how to plant stuff. When you're planting something, it's good to get some soil amendment, soil conditioner, or some sort of potting soil to till in. while you're planting. And
so do these shocks when you do these plants go into shock when you put them in to the ground?
No, and that's one of the things about buying bushes at so I won't say any names, but say a big box store.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of times when you're getting a 3-gallon shrub from a big box retailer,
mm-hmm.
they're buying the cheapest plant they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And they're shipping them in from wherever they can get them. That is when you'll get into shock, because you have an azalea that's, say, 3 years old in a 3-gallon pot. It has spent its entire life in southern Alabama or Florida, southern Mississippi, and it's been carted up here and sold up here when it's blooming in March.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. What happens the first time we get a late frost?
Yeah.
It just fries it.
Yeah.
Most of your local small retailers buy from McMinnville or they buy from Oregon.
Okay. Well, I've heard people tell me, now be careful what time of year you plant that, because the plant may go into shock or something like that. So I didn't know if there was you were talking about types of soil to use, get a good topsoil. I didn't know if maybe there was.
Well, really around here, the best time to plant is in the winter.
Okay.
Because you won't get we don't get the hard freezes like they do even 200 miles north from here.
Yeah, well, we hadn't even had a winter this year.
And this winter it's just
been a
joke.
Spring.
On my 3 houses, I'm having to mow the grass.
Yeah, that's
in my own
typical.
House, I'm having to mow my grass.
Yeah, that's not typical for this time of year. Now, we were talking about when you get the beds ready, okay, bringing in that topsoil and stuff like that, and before you put that mulch down, and once you planted, how can you get that bed ready? What is the best preventative to keep weeds out? Because that is one thing I cannot stand, because even with my mulch and stuff, I know my mom's used newspaper. I've seen people lay down plastic.
None of it works.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
absolutely
none of it works.
Because the mulch rots.
Okay.
You're always going to get weeds at some point. There are, I can't remember right off the top of my head the corporate names for them, but all of the nurseries sell various pre-emergence flower bed pre-emergences that you can sprinkle around the beds that will help. But really just a good mulch layer, 2 or 3 inches thick of mulch.
Yeah.
Is the best thing to do.
Okay, so are there any other plants that you like that you think have great curb appeal? I know we talked about the holly.
Well, you really can't beat the hydrangeas.
The hydrangeas.
And they're coming out with more and more of them that are sun tolerant. They'll bloom. Some will bloom in May and June. Others will bloom in July. We've got hydrangeas now that'll bloom all the way into the first freeze.
Okay.
Into the end of October. So hydrangeas, for me, that's what I use instead of knockout roses. Because knockout roses were supposed to be the end all be all.
Yeah.
Everybody was selling knockout roses.
Mine are dead.
Mine are gone. I mean, I ended up practically salting the area where I had them. They got diseased so badly.
Yeah.
But hydrangeas, because they're all different species, they just do better. They last longer, and they don't get a bug can't jump from one hydrangea bush to another.
Okay, that makes sense. And you got to think about insects too. What is a terrible plant to get that insects just love to eat?
Well, any rose.
Okay.
Skip laurels, any of the laurels are bad. A lot of people plant your autoleucon laurels, which are a nice shrub, but they plant them on the west side of houses, especially up. My favorite is when you plant a bunch of skip or auto laurels. I'll drive by someone's house and it's on the west face of a dark brick house. And then, a friend of mine will call me and it's a friend of mine's house. And they'll say, well, why are they dying? I'm like, well, you're baking them to death.
Yeah.
They're not made to be cooked.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot. You have to look at the tag. If it says plant in the shade, plant it in the shade. Don't put Don't put your laurels, your rhododendrons, your azaleas, things like that in full sun.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now, we talked about plants and stuff like that. What types of trees do you like that really have good curb appeal? Like, I like crepe myrtles, and my favorite is the 3-pronged birch. I love the way the bark peels and stuff. So for someone, you were talking about hiding gutters and stuff. Let's say we want to plant a larger
tree form crepe myrtles are fantastic. Just make sure to not crepe myrtle them.
Yeah.
I mean, crepe murder them.
Murder them.
And where you go down to the elbow,
Yeah.
and you saw them off. That's just, you're not going to end up with a pretty tree. Dogwoods are still doing good around here. Let's see.
Do you like the birches at all?
I
'Cause
love the birches, but don't plant them next to a sidewalk or a driveway.
Okay, because the root system.
The roots will. I've seen concrete driveways that are 10 inches up in the air because of a river birch.
So how far away from a house would you want to plant something like that?
We have a mutual friend who's got a river birch that is tearing their front porch apart.
Oh my goodness.
And because the birch is now about 8 inches in diameter.
Wow.
And it's only planted about 4 feet away.
Well, you see those quite commonly planted up pretty close to a house.
Because people think, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
It's just this cute little precious white tree, and I'm going to plant it. And they have no idea that those roots
what they do over time.
Get into everything. They're probably the most invasive roots out there. Okay,
well, and I'm going to ask you this question because I see this quite commonly when I'm out there because someone's putting their house on the market. It looks great. They've got it ready. The exterior looks great. The interior is wonderful. But that neighbor, darn it, that neighbor to the left, it looks like a junkyard. Okay. So that will hinder the sale.
Yes.
Okay. For someone that can't afford a privacy fence and they're wanting to plant some type of buffer or something to maybe block that neighbor, what is a plant that's already pretty tall or you can get that grows quick? Is a Leland cypress? I mean, what is the best thing for a buffer?
Well, the problem is by the time you bought big enough Lelands or America,
be expensive.
I like American arborvitaes better than Lelands. They don't get so wide. And they're not so top heavy.
Yeah.
Lelands have a real bad habit of getting Leland rust, which, just out this window, you've got a Leland that has it, and it'll eventually wipe out the whole row of Lelands.
Yeah.
The other thing is a good windstorm when it's wet like this, they'll just flop out of the ground.
Wow.
American arborvitaes, American and green giant arborvitaes are the best.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well build a fence.
You think a privacy fence. Yeah.
What we did, we went over back when I had the business. We would go to the next door neighbor, have a nice chat with them, and just
I've had to do that. Mm-hmm.
Hey, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Let us clean your yard up.
Yeah.
We'll haul the garbage off. Just volunteer. But do it in a nice way. Don't go over and tell your neighbor.
Don't get insulted. Mm-hmm.
But just a lot of times it's older people or they're single or you don't know that they're working 2 jobs. They just don't have, most people are not per se slobs. They're
exactly.
Just overwhelmed with what they've gotten themselves into.
And they get used to it. They get used to it and they don't even realize
how it appears. 65 hours a week, you're not thinking about your yard when you get home at night.
That's true. That's very true.
So I always had good luck with just going to them, talking to them and saying, hey, I'll do the work.
Yeah.
Just let me, if it's okay.
Yeah.
And probably 8 times I never got told no.
Yeah. Well, I've had to do that too. I've had to go and say, hey, we're happy to come over and clean this up. And it's all in your delivery and your approach. Right. I think, like you said, you have to be very nice and you don't want to come across that you're telling them that, their yard looks like crap. And you certainly don't want to seem like you're insulting them. But it does have an impact on the sale of a property. It really, really does. So I didn't know if there was something really good that you could use for a buffer if you had to
Not unless
Do
you're,
one
well,
quick?
not that would be less an offense
Okay.
for quick.
Okay.
I mean, that you're talking about probably a 15-gallon Leland retail, and that's going to be $180.
Yeah, it'd be cheaper to build the fence.
Build
Exactly.
fence.
Well, let's talk about yards, lawns. Okay. I know I need to seed my yard. Okay. Let's talk. What's the best seed to use? What's the process to get a really nice looking lawn? I know we were talking about pH. pH is important even when it comes to your grass,
you
right?
need a lime in about now.
Okay.
Put down lime. Actually, in about 2 weeks is when you put down pre-emergent, but that keeps your seed from coming up.
Okay.
So if you need to overseed your yard, see, a lot of people overseeded their yard this year in September, but unless you had a big sprinkler system and just watered the living daylights out of it, nothing grew.
Yeah.
Because we had a drought that lasted into December.
Yeah.
My yard, we don't have a sprinkler system, and we just are barely getting the grass growing in this warm spell. What I would suggest to people is that if your yard looks bad, skip the pre-emergent this year.
Okay.
And do your overseeding and aerate and everything in February.
Now, do you like fescue or what do you like?
What I like is a fescue Bermuda mix.
Okay.
I mean, you're in Tennessee. You're never going to get away from Bermuda.
Right.
It's always going to find a way into your yard. I've got friends of mine that fight it, and they'll end up killing half their yard every 2 or 3 years, trying to kill out the Bermuda, and it just comes back. My approach is embrace the Bermuda.
Yeah.
And if you have a Bermuda fescue mix, you're going to have a green yard in July when it's 100 degrees, and you're going to have a fairly green yard in December when it's 40 degrees. And your kids be able to play on it because it's tough. Your dogs be able to run on it and do their business on it, and you won't hurt it.
Okay. And how often, for someone who goes through the process now and they put down some more seed, if we're not getting rain, how often should they be watering that?
This time of year, probably once a week.
Okay, once a week.
Yeah.
Is it still important to put the hay down and everything to?
A little bit, but most people put it down too thick.
Okay.
I mean, just a little light layer of hay, just enough to keep the humidity in. But most people pile it on, and you'll see a yard that it's 8 inches thick of hay. It looks like they pine strawed their. Looks like they were pine straw on flower beds.
Yeah.
And it'll kill the grass.
Yeah.
Or it'll grow in the hay, and then when you go to get rid of the hay, all your yard gets blown away.
Well, this has been great information, David. I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise. Anybody that is getting ready to put your home on the market, I hope that this advice David's provided today on landscaping has been helpful. We'll be back here after the break. We're going to be talking to another guest. We've talked about getting the outside of the home ready. When we come back, we're going to talk about getting the inside ready. And for anybody wanting a free consultation, call Sabrena Realty 499-7780. We'd love to come out and talk to you. Thank you. We'll be back here in just a few minutes after the break.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm Sabrena with Sabrena Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at SabrenaRealty.com.
Listen up, y'all. Ben Phillips, Home Rate Mortgage, 805-9100. I'm in the business of saving people money. And if you want to save money, pick that cell phone up right now. 805-9100. I received a call that I won't forget. The guy is a Chattanooga police officer who served our great country in the Air Force. A true American hero. Our hero is renting, which costs too much for a space too small. We helped him achieve the American dream. And the best part is this, $180,000 home with zero down. $200 less than what his rent was. And now he has a safe place with more space to raise his family. It's easy, and you can do it too. It just takes 10 minutes and one phone call. 805-9100.
Turn a house into a home in the USA.
How about we change that to built in the USA? For over 21 years, Affordable Computers has been building computers right here in the good old USA, in Chattanooga, using the highest quality parts and components in every new computer they build. Tell us the exact system you need, we'll build it to your specifications. Or you can choose from a wide selection of our PCs and laptops, starting at under $200. All Affordable Computers are upgradable, guaranteed. Affordable Computers services their computers in store, typically within 1 to 3 days. And when you call, they answer the phone. You get support within minutes that you can understand. Affordable Computers of Chattanooga. And service and support extends for the life of the computer, not just for the warranty of the PC. So there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Call Affordable Computers now on Highway 58 Chattanooga, 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975.
Or visit our Fort O store, 706-858-5888.
We're at the Cantina at Amigos Mexican Restaurant. Yes, ma'am. 2 orders of nachos with beef and beans and 2 beers. Chattanooga loves its Amigos restaurants, but the Amigos in Hickson has something extra. NCAA, the week's big game. How about a house wine? Really good. Big name beers. Just tell Maria what you want. And here at Amigos, margaritas are popular. And it's only $3 a day. If you come here on a game day, Saturday, a Natty Light is only $2.25. Here at Amigos, just during NCAA, Natty Light, $2.25. Amigos Mexican Restaurant in Hickson. The happy hour is 3 to 9 today and every day. I'd say the atmosphere is festive. Look at that huge TV. It's like being amid the fans under a bright sun, but without all the heat. Stay cool. Quench your thirst. Amigos, between the Staples and Hobby Lobby. Take the table next to mine and enjoy the great NCAA game with friend or family here at the Cantina at Amigos Mexican Restaurant. Okay, it started.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240, Nooga Radio News. Russell Stroud reporting. A high-speed police chase ends in a crash on Monroe Street. Marquis McReynolds and Jermichael Brooks were arrested after a high-speed police chase on Monday. The law enforcement officers involved a task force from the ATF, FBI, and the Chattanooga Police Department, which pursued their vehicle at Highway 58 and ended on Monroe Street when the driver of the suspect vehicle lost control, slamming into a ditch. Police surrounded the vehicle and arrested the 2 men inside. Police say 2 weapons were found inside the vehicle, and the 2 men were already convicted felons. They're now facing charges including evading arrest, narcotics, weapons, and auto theft. The Chattanooga Police Department is hoping to bring its ranks up to the number of 500. Are also wanting to install a local testing for shell casings, which will be able to match spent brass to a firearm. This all hinges on the city council approving funding. After an autopsy of the victim, a Walker County man is now going to be facing more charges after he's been charged in the strangulation death of his girlfriend after it was discovered in the autopsy that she was 3 months pregnant.
We expect more sunshine out there through your afternoon. Much nicer. Highs mid and upper 50s. Tonight, clear. Chilly lows upper 30s. Now for your Wednesday, expect increasing clouds, mild highs, lower 60s with a few late showers. Showers pushing off to these tomorrow night with cooler and drier weather Thursday. Check out Little Caesars, where you can enjoy 5 items at $5 each. It's real quality and value from Little Caesars, and they're hot and ready every day from 4 to 8. You can feed the whole group at $5 each. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome back to the Sabrena and Ben Real Estate Hour. We've been talking about getting your home ready for the market. Hey, there's some of you out there thinking about buying a home too. If you need to get pre-qualified, call the team over at Home Rate Mortgage. Ben or one of his folks, they would love to pre-qualify you. It's an easy phone call. They can do it right over the phone. They can be reached at 423-805-9100. That's 805-9100, or you can go to homeratemortgage.com. And of course, Sabrena Realty, we'd love to come out to you, talk to you, meet with you, talk to you about selling your home or talk to you about buying a home, help you find that dream home. We can be reached at 499-7780, or you can go to our website, sabrenarealty.com. As a matter of fact, we've got some new listings I'd like to promote today before we bring our next guest on. Ottawa, a booming market. Really hard to find anything affordable out there. That's why there is such a high demand for pre-existing right now, because new construction is through the roof. But here's a fabulous home in Sunset Ridge, 7502 Night Falls Circle. This home has over 2,400 square feet. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, all custom built. It has all the amenities: granite, crown molding, tile, hardwood. $245,000. You just can't find that anymore in Ottawa. $245,000. You can go to our website. Again, the address is 7502 Night Falls Circle. If you're not wanting to live in the Ottawa area, but you like Ringo, Georgia, we've got a fabulous home. This home is custom designed for 2 families. The address is 327 Dove Drive in Ringo, Georgia. This is in the Meadows, very desirable neighborhood. But this home, it has a home and a separate apartment. Very updated, like new. It's nice. It's listed at $289,000. I mean, you're basically getting 2 homes for that price. $289,000. 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath, totally updated. Has a finished basement. It's a corner lot with a privacy fence. Go to our website, check it out. 327 Dove Drive, Ringo, Georgia. 2 fabulous listings. And let me tell you, folks, you can't find these kind of prices if you're out there looking at new construction. New construction in these areas, I mean, you're talking 1,800 square feet, 2,000 square feet is starting at $325,000 and up. So I can't stress enough, there is such a demand for pre-existing. We have some great listings. Go to our website and check them out. Okay, for those of you thinking about putting your home on the market, our first half of the show today, we advise you on getting the exterior ready, how important it is. That first impression, when that potential buyer pulls into the driveway and they look at that home for the first time, we want fresh landscaping with fresh mulch. You want a very manicured lawn. You want to really, really, really impress them. Well, the exterior is not only important, but the interior is also important. That's why I've asked Nancy Waddell to be here. Nancy Waddell. I need to say it. I say the Southern pronunciation. Nancy Waddell is here with us today. And Nancy is an expert in the home staging process. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Nancy.
Well, Sabrena, it's always a pleasure to hear from you, and I'm always thrilled to be on your show.
Well, you are the expert. I mean, you have an eye for interior design. Tell us, okay, when that buyer first walks in that home, tell us what is so important right off the bat, okay, that they pulled in, they've been very impressed with the exterior. What needs to happen the minute they open that door?
They need to see that house as something that they could move right into.
Okay.
That is what the realtor wants to see. That is what that buyer wants to be able to envision themselves living in that house. I can't emphasize that enough.
Now, what are some things that you commonly see that hinder that?
I think the biggest single thing, it's a psychological thing. And it's right at the very beginning of this conversation, is that when the moment that you decide to put your house on the market, in that instant, the house is no longer yours.
That is good advice.
That house is not yours anymore, and you need to just have a little mental divorce from your house. For a lot of people, that's very difficult because they've lived in that house for 20, 25, 30 years. They have a lot of emotion invested in that house, and they value it. It's very close to their heart, so it's difficult for them to make any changes to the house. But you've got to stop looking at the house the way you always have and look at it with the eyes of a stranger, of a buyer. And nobody can help you better with that than your realtor.
Exactly. You know, I tell people too, it's hard to take down those personal photos.
Oh.
The wedding pictures, the kids, you know, first Christmas and what have you. But you know what happens, and I see this. When you go in that home, rather than that buyer focusing on the floor plan and placing their sofa in your living room, they're looking at those photos. They're very distracted. They're looking at those photos and they're wondering, did they know anybody there?
Absolutely. I have a little story about this, a little quick story that I think you're going to find really pertinent. My in-laws are getting up in years, even though they're very active. And for a while, they were looking to move to Chattanooga, and there's still a chance they may. But we looked at a house that I think was pretty darn near perfect for them. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, all on one level. The people that were moving out were around their age. But there was one thing wrong. Everything about it was clean, it was organized, it was just right, except they had left up some personal portraits.
Okay.
The photos that they had taken of themselves. And the instant my mother-in-law saw those photos, she began to say, oh, she has these beautiful towels in the bathroom, or she has a different coffee pot on the countertop, or she has a beautiful dining room set. She immediately began to relate to the woman that owned the house.
Yeah.
And if in that instant, she could no longer see the house as neutral and something that could belong to them. In her mind, it belonged to somebody else.
Yeah.
And it was over.
Yeah.
And
that makes perfect sense. Yep. You know, in addition, though, to walking in, you want that home to be depersonalized.
Yes,
you
do.
Want it to be a very neutral atmosphere. Something else that is critical is when you first open that door, you walk in, if there is a prominent smell.
Oh, man.
I mean, we've been there, right?
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, and it's so distracting because it's all they can think about is what is that smell. And so there's a list of things that you really need to do, you know, right after you've had the little mental divorce from your house. If somebody else's, you're selling it, is you need to look at it and smell it and feel it with other eyes.
Smoking and pet
odors.
Killers.
Mildew is another one.
Yeah.
And I've even another turnoff is Clorox.
Oh, yeah.
Smelling bleach when you walk in.
They think
you're,
you're hiding something.
What are they bleaching here? So you need to, even some paint that it has been treated for smells would help.
Yeah.
Cleaning the carpet. Get everything out from under those sinks. Have a good look at, the garage. I mean, look around. Is there some mildew? Is there some mold? Is there dirt in general? Cleaning is a huge thing on the list. Even one step before that, I would, right after you've made the decision to not be attached to the house anymore and sell it, you might want to give serious consideration. I've never heard of anybody doing this and regretting it, of renting a little storage unit.
Absolutely.
Clean out those closets. And that's where you might start discovering where that smell is coming from. Nobody, there isn't anybody that puts their house in the market and has someone walk in and open up and see empty closets that thinks, boy, I shouldn't have done that. Buyers love to come in and see things that are empty and see space because they can envision their own things living in, packed into that house.
Exactly.
They don't want to open up closet doors and have things just crammed in there because it suggests that there's really not enough room in this house for them.
That's true. And you know what I've noticed, Nancy, when I'm showing homes to buyers, so many people do not have visual capability. They just really do not. And you have to help them.
Oh, you do. And, years ago, I've always bought fixer-uppers, and everybody I knew bought them. And people are really not doing that anymore. They really want to walk in and see what they saw on House and on Pinterest and on HGTV.
Right.
And, you might think, well, I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to do that. Well, there's two answers to that. In the first place, you really don't need a ton of money to make some common sense changes and updates to your house. On the other hand, it wouldn't hurt you to spend a little bit to, if your realtor Sabrena recommends that you tear out this or clean up that or replace a few things or paint, by all means do what they're recommending.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of where I wanted the conversation to go next. I used a very conservative approach with my buyers.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes back to we want them to detach from that home.
Yes.
If you have them go in there and redo the kitchen, what they want, well, you just reattach them because now that's their kitchen.
Yes.
But two, more importantly, they're not going to get that money back out of the home. So I use a very conservative approach. What are some very inexpensive things we can do to spruce up this home, make the inside look nice, make it look more updated, but it's not costing you a lot because I don't want my sellers to expect to get that back dollar for dollar because they just won't. So what are some nice colors? What's in right now? What are some nice colors if they just want to do some fresh paint or something like that are in for this year?
It's still very neutral, which is good.
Yeah.
I have a little list here.
Yeah.
If you're going to Benjamin Moore, one of my favorite brands, Indian River, Revere Pewter, Bleecker Beige, Grant Beige. Those are some beiges or some pale grays that should go with virtually every surface in your house.
Very neutral.
And take it from room to room. A big mistake that, or a decorating kind of a faux pas that people make. I've stood in many houses. Sabrina and I have done a few together, staged them for sale, and stood in the lobby, or not the lobby, the foyer of the house. I could see 8 colors from where I was standing. So you really don't want to. It just makes the house too busy and too personal, and they're overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 or maybe 2 colors throughout the house.
Do you do an accent wall? Is that still a big thing,
really
or
don't.
you just okay?
Doing an accent wall it's not going to make your room decorated. This is why they need you to help them sell the house. They need me to help them make it yours once
Exactly.
make it theirs once they get in. Just painting one wall a different color is not going to solve a decorating problem if there is a problem with that room.
Right.
And also, it's very distracting for someone walking in.
You're right.
I just had a client. She had neutral beige, but she had one rust-colored wall in the living room, and I said, "You need to paint that because if somebody walks in and they hate that color,
That's true.
they'll turn right around and go back out the door."
That's true.
So paint it neutral. If you've got, old shabby furniture, go ahead and get rid of it or move it to the storage unit. Even draperies. If you've got draperies that are 20 years old, go ahead and take them down and paint.
What are you doing with windows when you're staging? I'm sure you want to be able to let natural light in because it's going to make that room feel bright. It makes it a better feel when you walk in too. It makes it brighter, makes it look bigger. So what are some things people can do around the window?
The best, smartest thing to do, an obvious thing to do, is clean them.
Absolutely.
Clean the blinds, clean the windows.
Get those cobwebs out.
That's right, inside and out, because there may be all kinds of grunge on the outside or a lot of pets pawing. You can see little paw prints or whatever. Clean that up. If the blinds are chewed on or damaged in any way, just go ahead and replace them. It's not expensive to do that. And that's some of that money that you may get that back because people do like to walk in a house and see that there's window coverings because they're going to be living in it for a while before they do things generally. And they like to be able to know they can close the blinds or the shades at night.
Now, you talked about people decluttering. I know that's so important. Decluttering.
Absolutely.
Because I have seen rooms that are packed full. They've got something every corner, everywhere, on every wall. And I'm shocked when I measure the room. Because I measure the room. And it's actually a much larger room than what I would have guessed it to be because they've just crammed it in and made it look very small. And we talked about getting a storage building or something like that. You can get those pretty inexpensively.
You can, and you can pack that stuff in there until you have time to sort through it later. Or, if you have time before you put the house on the market, you can go through things. But generally, having the storage unit is going to motivate you.
It will.
It absolutely will. And yes, if you take everything out of the room and put about half of it back, that's about right. You don't want a lot of objects sitting around that tell too much of a story of who lives there. If you've got, a lot of religious connotations, that could offend someone that is not of your faith that moves in and they see, certain things all around the walls and whatnot, that might just turn them off a little bit. So,
well, religious does and political does too. I mean, it just does.
Absolutely.
People are passionate.
Make
about
it
their
neutral.
beliefs.
Make it as neutral so that they can just see themselves moving right in, just like a show house. When you see a show house, there's some dishes out, there's some decorating effects out. But you could just pack a suitcase and move right in that place.
And that's really what you want that home to look like. Now, when you go in the living room and the kitchen, those are two, well, the master too, but two living rooms, usually one of the first rooms you enter, and then the kitchen, it's always usually the selling feature, one of the greatest selling features for the female. What's important to do in those two rooms? If you advise somebody, what are the most important things you can advise them if they're focusing on those two rooms?
Well, again, clean, especially the kitchen. Clean out from under the sink. That's somewhere I look. Empty out those cabinets and those drawers and things because they're not going to look in, furniture drawers. But boy, any kind of a built-in, they're going to look at that and check. And just
we've got a call. Let me see if hello, caller. Go ahead.
Hey, Sabrina. How you doing?
Hey, it's Ben. Ben called in. Do you hear all this great advice Nancy's given today, Ben?
No, I don't. I have to step aside from a meeting. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. We're talking about staging the home and how important that is. So I know I've been telling everybody if they're thinking about buying a home, they need to call you or one of your team members today. I know the rates are still low. What's going on in the mortgage industry?
Well, when you think about life, I think everybody is trying to survive. And the most important person in your life is your family. And you want to have the best home for your family, to protect your family, to have a enjoyable time. And that's what Sabrena is talking about here, about making your home better and folks and things like that. And it's neat to think about how there's a lot of folks out there that may be first-time home buyers. They may be, they're new to the process and maybe just a little bit nervous or anxious. And then there's folks that are saying, hey, I need to downsize. I want to sell this home. And it's an exciting time in the housing industry, folks. And, Sabrena, I just think it's an amazing time because you don't just have interest rates that are in the high threes, right around 4%. I can't imagine being able to get an interest rate like that, such a low payment to have a home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we don't know how long that's going to last. I keep saying people need to take advantage of those low rates. Plus, there's a lot of loan options out there right now. If you don't have a huge down payment, there's a lot of loans out there people just aren't aware of. That's why they need to call you guys, Ben.
That's absolutely right. And let me just talk about that for a second. There's programs out there that will help folks make that decision to look into this. For example, there's a 0% down program right now. If you think about it, when interest rates do go back up, your mortgage payment on a house, even though it's lower than renting right now, if you take advantage now, you could save several $100s a month over renting, continuing to do that incorrect thing. Because at the end of the day, you're just making your landlord rich.
Yeah, we don't like to make the landlord rich. We want to have our own investment, something that we can cash out one day.
Absolutely, it is an investment, and that's the whole point of the story. I mean, we're talking about homes, and to have a home that's your own. 15 years from now, you don't have a mortgage payment. That's an investment that will pay off big dividends. And I just want to finish really with a story, Sabrena, because I know you guys are still chatting.
Yeah.
But I met a stranger, and I'm going to title this story. Everybody hears me say stories, and I'm going to title this story, Live Your Life.
Okay.
Here's what happened to me Saturday morning at about 7:30. I stopped at a gas station, and I met a complete stranger. She's standing kind of next to me, pumping her gas. I'm pumping mine, and I say hi to her. And she says, "Oh, I know that voice." And we start talking about going on vacation. Next thing you know, I'm hearing her talk about this stranger that pulled over on the side of the road to help a guy that was in a limo fix their flat tire.
Yeah.
That stranger is now the president of the United States. His name's Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
And this stranger that helped him, fix that flat tire didn't have any clue who was in that vehicle. And didn't even care. He pulled over on the side of the road to help a stranger.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, we're talking about living our life. But folks, my grandfather helped people just like that. He would help strangers in life, even the Donald Trumps of the world. And it reminded me, this meeting a stranger at the gas station reminded me of my grandfather, and it reminded me how I need to be the best man that I can be for not only my family, but not only my friends, but also for my community.
Well,
and you know what, folks?
That's a great generation
out there that need our help.
Yep, that's true, Ben. Hey, thank you. We've missed you the past couple of weeks. I know you're in class and you're learning, and that's why you're one of the top lenders in this town, because you just keep learning and staying up with the industry. And I thank you for stepping out and taking time. Nancy's talking about how important it is to stage a home, and we were just talking about the living room and the kitchen, which are two rooms that basically that's selling the house to the female, and how important it is to have that home ready to put on the market. I mean, this affects what you're going to get for the home too, because I'm telling you, if someone walks in that home, Nancy, like you were talking about, and they don't see, oh, I'm going to have to sink a lot of money in changing this color, or I'm going to have to change the kitchen over here. They just see placing their stuff. Then guess what?
That's right.
You're going to get a better offer on that house. It's going to be stronger.
I mean, your goal should be sell it fast and get the most money for it. I mean, obviously,
Exactly.
But there are steps to doing that. I mean, you don't want your house sitting on the market forever.
That's
or for months and months and months, because the longer it's on the market, I think the more suspicious that looks to other professionals. Why hasn't that house sold? What's wrong with it? So you do want it to be as neutral, as fresh and clean. Furniture placement is a big thing. Very often people have way too much. And if they just take a few things out of the room, and that's where, it would help to consult with your realtor or consult with someone like me, Nancy Waddell. And, I come over and do consultations with people who are getting ready to sell, and we work to get that house ready so that when people walk through, another great thing you can do, Sabrena, is take photos of your rooms and then look at them and maybe sit down with your realtor and look at them and look at them the way a buyer would look at them, because you can see things in that photo that you just don't stand there and see normally.
That's true.
Very telling and extremely helpful. So those things, get rid of some of that furniture, make sure the kitchen is super clean and decluttered, take all that stuff off the countertops, scrub that sink, even a few things like maybe just getting a new sink faucet or changing out hardware. If the kitchen is extremely dated, sometimes you can just paint it.
Maximizing space is critical, though, right?
Absolutely.
You talked about that in the closets.
Yes.
I mean, taking stuff out because you want people to think there's enough room in that
Yes,
closet
you do.
to hold their stuff.
Yes,
So
you do.
It's all about space.
It is.
And, one thing I was reading, and this isn't really expensive, in a bathroom. You think, well, how can you maximize space in a bathroom? Well, guess what? You may take out that big vanity and put in a pedestal sink.
You can.
Or something like that. And that's pretty cost effective.
It is. And, there's spending a little bit of money, spending a medium amount of money, and just work with your realtors to see, and also this is a big advantage to using a realtor is that you might see some great ideas on Houzz or Pinterest that work in New York or California, but they know what buyers are looking for right here in this area, what appeals to them.
Absolutely.
So they have a record of what did everybody want last year? What were buyers excited about last year? Let's transfer that knowledge and that experience to your house.
Well, I tell you, Nancy, I'm looking forward to 2017, honey. We are going to get you in there and help us on these homes. You're going to help us get them ready. We're going to get them so quick.
I love
we did
to.
last time. Our record was 7 days on that last
7
one
days.
you did with me. That's unbelievable.
And I'm still friends with that buyer.
I know.
And it's a blast. It's so much fun to work with someone that really gets it and understands it.
And you were so affordable. So listen, folks, if you're thinking about putting that home on the market, call Sabrena Realty, 499-7780. That's 499-7780. You can go to our website, get lots of information at SabrenaRealty.com. If you're thinking about buying and you need to get pre-approved, call the fine folks over at Home Rate Mortgage, 805-9100. That's 805-9100, or go to HomeRateMortgage.com. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 11 a.m. on 1240 a.m. Hot News Talk Radio. Thanks for tuning in.
You give us 12 minutes and